Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. I am Captain Logan, and joining me today is my son, Jason.
Hey!
How's it going, Jason?
I am good.
Jason also felt like talking about animation today, so I thought I would bring him on board. And as always, we've got our chat moderator and producer, Danny Nixon.
Hey, everybody.
Danny is going to be taking your questions today. Anytime throughout the show, feel free to leave a question about animation or about anything else you want to. We'll sprinkle in some other things today. Danny, try to make it like a 80-20 ratio. If at all possible, we'll just throw in like a few 3 or 4 other things throughout the show today, so that we're not just talking about animation. Although last week we had so much on this topic, we felt like we didn't even scratch the surface. And I decided, I'm a DJ now, we didn't even scratch the surface. And I decided to go ahead and try a second show on this and get to some questions we didn't get to last week, and also, of course, answer questions from you folks this week live. I see lots of folks in the comments. There's Tank Gunner, Divid22, G Stone, Blue Dragon 5, Solar Dragon 007, Jeffrey Patron is there, Sid McGrath. A lot of folks that are often here on this show, and also I'm seeing a lot of names, and Jason, who's not in the chat. So today we're not going to have to deal with Jason begging Danny to get me to answer a question. But I'm seeing a lot of folks in the comments right now that also have been joining me for a lot of my video game live streams lately, and I want to thank everybody for making that as awesome as it has been. I've been having so much fun with that. I posted the other day on Facebook, Danny, and said that I'm getting a little bit addicted to the live stream thing. I'm like, oh no, I have other things I need to be working on that I'm maybe not getting done right away, because instant content that's really fun to make. And I'm kind of on this binge right now of live streaming, but I'm going through Arkham Asylum right now. If you're interested in that, the series is called Cap Can't Play Arkham Asylum, because I'm not
I wanted that.
I'm not the best at it. Yeah, when I put up a poll last week asking people what title they preferred between that and Logan's Run, which was a title that came up on this show last week, somebody suggested, Jason was begging me to do Cap Can't Play, and Danny, that was a hard pick, man, because Logan's Run was such a cool name for that series. But and I think
really clever name.
Danny, I think even me and you went back and forth about it a little bit, like trying to figure it out. And finally, I was like, I was. First of all, it's more descriptive because you're not gonna get like a really crisp, well played gameplay where a person doesn't get lost if you're watching me, because that's just what's gonna happen. Because I'm not the best at. What's that now? Stuck in vents like last night. Yeah. Well, little bit. But then shush. But then also some people were concerned that there could be a weird copyright issue just straight up using a name of a major film like that, and I don't think there would be, but these days I don't really want to take any chances, so that's part of why I decided not to do that. But anyway, so just a quick plug for that. We're doing video game play on a semi-regular basis now. Check your social media or your YouTube. I'm making sure to post there and letting people know when I'm going to be streaming. I will probably do some more tonight. I will let you know this afternoon or this evening. I'm seeing a movie with my wife, so it will probably be a later stream again. In fact, let me just go ahead. I'll just go ahead and officially announce that now. I will be streaming again tonight for at least an hour, but it will probably be around 10:30, 11. And then tomorrow night, also quick plug, Brandon and I are going to start our live playthrough for Deadpool. And I don't know how often he and I are going to be doing that, but I said I'd probably jump back and forth between Arkham and some other games, and I'm going to do that with Deadpool. So Brandon and I are going to start back at the beginning. We played about half of it quite a while back, and we never finished it. So I say quite a while back. It's been a couple of years, Danny. But we're finally going to get back to that and hopefully finish it this time. So we'll see what happens with that.
I see a question.
Well, there's lots of questions. Jason,
I see a question
that's the show. Well, that's cool. Why don't you just keep it in the back of your mind, and we'll get there in a little bit, okay? Because
for you.
Dan. So the way this show works is people ask questions, and then Danny compiles them, and then later we give Danny the floor, and he decides what things we'll be answering. That's the show. You watch it every week. I would think you would know that.
I know that. But I want to be a moderator too.
He's coming for my job.
It sounds like it, yeah. I wanted to throw out a few other kind of house cleaning things and announcements real quick. The next episode of Superhero Rewind will be Daredevil Season 1, and I may need a little bit of extra time, a little bit more time than normal to get my notes compiled for that, because, of course, it's an entire season of television. I want to thank Malik Myers for requesting that review. The one after that will be the Top 50 Performances video, which we got for which was put in the queue because of a Patreon goal. Speaking of Patreon, our numbers are a little bit down there, not horrible, but we are below the 550 mark. We are still pushing for the $600 mark to put Ant-Man in the queue. So if you're not currently a patron, consider helping us out there if you are so inclined. And no pressure or nothing, but we have a really great community there. Lots of fun things to do there. Just $2 a month gets you access to all kinds of really cool things, including Jason even spends his allowance on this. No, I'm kidding. And we do early episodes of Superhero Rewind there. You get access to Geekvolution After Dark, which is my and Eric's twice monthly talk show that is completely uncensored, where we talk about all kinds of stuff we wouldn't usually talk about on the channel.
I'm not going to watch that because I'm not a patron.
And because you're not old enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also have early episodes there for Counting Crypto Freaks, which I've just brought back in commentary form. And there'll be a new episode of that, hopefully on Friday. Although I need to send Danny the picture for that so that he can help me get the picture drawn for that. Anyway, so that might be Friday. It might be over the weekend. Stay tuned on that. Anyway, those I think are the main announcements. And also for patrons, After Dark will be up in the next couple of days. Okay. Is everybody ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Danny, I did better than last week. It's only 8 minutes into the show this time.
Only 8. We're getting better.
All right, Danny, start tossing them to me. Thanks again, everybody, for being here.
Let's try 1 minute.
Oh man, I don't think that's possible. Patreon, do it. $2, go. All right, Danny, shoot. Will you?
I was going to start with a question from last week, but a really interesting question came up just as we were talking.
Let's see if it's the one that Jason wanted.
It might be. It's from Toby9975432. Jason, would you watch a Power Rangers show if it was animated? And I'm going to add to this, would it being animated change how you look at the show rather than it being in live action? Would it change how you go into it?
What a great question.
I would enjoy having... Yes, I would enjoy having a cartoon, a Power Rangers cartoon animated.
What do you think the big differences would be? If they did that, would they? Yeah, like my first thought, Danny, is I would think you'd likely have fewer padded out human segments. I think that would be a way more action driven show.
I think so too. I also think we could get the opposite of what the live action show does, where it's more episodic. And I think a cartoon one could actually be more story driven since they're not relying on reusing stock footage.
Yeah, of course. You have a really serialized thing. No, I like that a lot.
Because Japan didn't do that, so they would have to create the action themselves with the animated.
Yeah, that's right. They wouldn't be going to some anime and taking they would just have shoddily drawn human segments to pad it out, and then these really fantastic looking action sequences that they just ripped off from some anime. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I've always wanted to see an animated Power Rangers. I think that could be really cool. It would be contending with Voltron now, because that show has been on for 4 or 5 seasons from Netflix and is vaguely popular. I think that would probably do about as well as Voltron does, I would think, but they would be in direct competition.
Yeah, I think depending on which way they wanted to go with it, they could either ironically make the cartoon series the more adult focused show.
Yeah,
the kid show, they could really make it. Really pump up the action with it and really compete with like a Voltron or like a Transformers, where it's all about the big fights rather than the I'm blanking on the name for the Megazord. Megazord is what I was looking for. I'm rusty on my Power Rangers, as you can tell. But I think if they
there's small robots, they're called Zords, and then they come together and they make a Megazord.
And then the Megazords compile to make a Megazord. It's just Zords all the way down or all the way up.
Yeah, it's right. It's just like they just stack them up, like a pyramid. No, that's a great question. I think you could kind of almost not directly adapt, but do a Shattered Grid kind of thing where you do a show. Because I've always said a more adult-oriented Power Ranger show is a really good idea, and I think it could be really commercially viable. And I think that would be because as far as your action went, money is no object, right? You can put anything you want to on the screen, and so you could have a bunch of iconography from different shows that are aimed at Power Rangers fans going all the way back, rather than making it a different thing every season, or feeling the need to just do Mighty Morphin all over again. I think that would be the time to do something on television that does what Shattered Grid did and put together a bunch of different Power Rangers things that are pre-established already.
Yeah, I think if you did an animated one, the best way or the best first thing to do with that would be like a time travel or a Shattered Dimensions thing where you're just bringing everything together. That way you can get voice actors back from previous series.
See, that's a great point too. Yeah,
that may not be able to act because they're either too old or just not wanting to get back into the suit.
Yeah, Super Ultra Graphic says, or sorry, Cinema Graphic says Super Ultra Megazord.
Super Ultra Megazord.
Putting everything together. Yeah, you got to get you got to get Fantastic in there somewhere, and Epic. You got to get Epic in there.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious sword.
It's got an umbrella.
Yeah.
And a spoon full of sugar. All right, moving right along.
Okay, from Michael McAllister, do you prefer 2D or 3D animation?
Wow, for my money, it just depends on. It's a very case by case kind of thing. Of course, I miss 2D animation. I wish it was more prevalent. I don't like this notion that somehow 3D is better because we can do it now, and like we use 3D a lot more because it's cheaper and you can make it faster, and you have a lot of pre-rendered stuff and programs that make it simpler to do that, and you don't have to always build everything from the ground up. That's also, I think, and Danny, this is more your field than it is mine, but I think that also, though, can be true for 2D animation now too. Like there are corners you cut where you don't have, that doesn't take as long as it used to either.
Yeah, there is, at least in the mid to late 2000s, we got a big influx of like Flash animation.
Yeah.
Which is doing the 2D animation style, but doing it through computer generated graphics. And it's something I've dabbled in a little bit. It's easier, but I think it's one of those things where it's just kind of streamlining some stuff, but not actually, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not really as big of a shortcut, I think, as they would need to like necessitate the time and resources that go into 2D animation. At least I think, but I don't,
Well, of course, a lot of Flash, it doesn't look as great. It's not as detailed, but even with straight up hand drawn 2D animation, you put that in a computer and you can, it still doesn't take as long as it did when you were drawing cell to cell, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because even the later Bruce Timm DC animated shows weren't done in the original classic style, and were certainly put through computers.
Yeah, and what I think, at least with the computer generated 2D stuff, we tend to rely a lot on CG backgrounds and cars and streets and all that kind of stuff, and it just doesn't. I don't think we've gotten to a point where it really works or really looks consistent with.
Yeah, it doesn't always mesh. It just feels like they're two universes that are sitting in the same plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, nostalgically, my preference is, of course, 2D. But then it was such a big deal when Toy Story came out and we were finally able to see 3D rendered animation with textures that looked like they were really there. And so obviously I have a fondness for that as well. And it's very much like, in some ways, this is not the same thing, but in some ways it's a little bit for me like a comic book versus a book, right? There are certain things that make more sense in one medium than in another, and I have seen too many 3D animated movies that would have been better served in 2D animation, and that where the 3D seemed a little bit intrusive, especially with I think it's difficult to deny this. Human beings tend to look better in 2D animation.
Yeah, because our expectations aren't as high for something being drawn to look like a human as it is for something that's modeled in 3D.
Well, I wouldn't even say that the standards aren't as high. I would say that you're not expecting it to look realistic. You know, it's already stylized.
Yeah, I think that was what I was trying to say. I just worded that wrong. But yeah, anytime I've looked at anything that's supposed to look like a human in 3D, even if it's just a few years ago, the way the technology just keeps advancing, it always seems outdated not too long after it's put out. Whereas with 2D, I never really get that, even if it's not the best drawn. Like there are some shows that aren't really well animated, but I don't look at them with the same like judgment that I do with older, or not with older 3D, but just with 3D that may not hold up as well.
Yeah, and it's no longer a novelty. You know, now it's just a tool, and that's a good thing. But I think sometimes it's still treated a little bit like a novelty, where it's like, you know, this is what all the hip cats are doing now, and this is what everything is supposed to look like, even if it doesn't necessarily serve the material. Jason, do you have before we move on, do you have an opinion on this? Do you prefer 2D animation, hand-drawn flat animation? Although I say flat, there's obviously, you know, you go back and look at Disney classics. There's a lot of wonderful Disney movies with lots of depth to them. But do you prefer 2D animation or rendered in a computer CG animation?
I think it would be 2D.
Yeah.
I love the old video games, and also I like the old days.
Well, that's
everything.
I mean, that's a good point too. Yeah,
mostly right now everything is 3D.
Yeah, but the kind of difference even in visual style with video games between sprite graphics and 3D graphics, there's obviously a direct correlation there. And Danny, I think it's really interesting just looking at the younger generation coming after this and perspectives. Like I could totally see why Jason's going. Well, yeah, and also like with video games, it's the like I like the look of the retro stuff.
I saw an interesting question.
Well, you want to go ahead and knock it out?
Yeah.
Okay, go right ahead.
Phil says
he is. He's got it for your job, dude.
Phil says, I got a question for Cap and Jason.
Okay, here we are. We're right here.
If you had an interview with a cartoon character, which one would it be?
With a cartoon character.
Yep. Mm-hmm. An interview with a cartoon character.
Mine is definitively the Tick. Although that interview is weird because he would probably just say all kinds of things that sound like really cool but rhetorical nonsense, and then when you ask him about his past, he couldn't tell you anything. So maybe that's not a great answer. What's your answer, Jason? Maybe Arthur is a more interesting interview.
Maybe probably for me,
you're the one that wanted this question, man.
Right. Probably for me, Mario from his show.
Yeah.
From that show that's on Netflix. I forget what it's called.
From the Mario Brothers Super Show?
Yep.
Yeah. So you're just going to use this animation show to talk about video games as much as possible. Is that your whole plan? Danny, throw another one at us, man.
Okay. I just had it. Okay. From William Parcell. Sorry, I scrolled down to...
I thought you were doing a voice for a minute. It's time for a question.
No, sadly I'm not a voice actor. William Parcell... William Parcell asked, do you think a straight-up animated horror film can work?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it would scare you, but it would work.
Oh no, it could. I mean, there's definitely you know, lots of creepy animated movies, and my mind is immediately going to animes, but you know, things like Hellsing and like the Castlevania series. There's just straight up chilling stuff. Yeah, and you can't watch it because it's really violent, and people's limbs will not stay on them. They just fall off if you look at them wrong. But anyway, yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. I wish we would try that kind of thing more often, but that's the problem we were discussing last week on the show, that we just don't take animation seriously enough to try things like that and expect it to make. So like, can it work critically? Yes. Would it make money? Maybe on Netflix. I don't know if I would attempt that kind of thing and put it in the big screen in this country right now. But yeah, straight up animated horror film is a great idea, and I think it's easier to do that and not fall back on the standard live action gimmicks like jump scares and stuff. I think it's easier just to make the whole thing creepier and moodier and unnerving if it's already kind of surreal.
Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah,
in animation.
I think both like the slasher genre would be really good in animation, but also like the more psychological stuff, because when you're animating it, you're not held to like the limitations of like the human body. You can exaggerate faces, you can make things look scarier, you can distort anatomy to fit whatever you're trying to do without needing to do cheesy CGI like sometimes we get with more low budget horror films. So I think animation kind of serves it better than live action could in some respects, but I don't know if it's something where it's. I do think it would work in animation. I just don't know if it's something that we'd ever attempt, because it's not really two things you tend to put together from a studio perspective.
Yeah, again, we definitely do it in animated shows sometimes. I don't know what else you call the HBO Spawn show, but a horror show. But I mean, okay, it's also a street level vigilante show and it's other things, but it's a crime drama, but it's a horror show. And I don't mean to always go back to that, but there's not a lot of other great examples here. Mr. Roboto put in a $2 super chat.
Okay, Image animated. Will you review or will you rewind review them?
I don't know what that means. Image animated.
Image comics and.
I'm just not sure what he's talking about.
Yeah, was there an animated Image line of cartoons or something?
I mean, you had Spawn and you had Wildcats, which was a Top Cow thing, and you had there was a Witchblade anime, but I don't think she got an American show. I don't know if he's talking about things based on Image or if there's a word missing there. But Mr. Roboto, try to elaborate for us if you can, and it certainly doesn't have to be as a super chat. And I meant to mention that at the beginning of the show. The super chat, of course, is open. If you want to make sure that we answer your question today, that is the way to do it. You can donate $1, you can donate $5, whatever you want to do, and we always appreciate those. And you guys are absolutely wonderful for supporting the show. Danny, throw out another question, sir.
Okay, from Mario 500 now. Captain, do you have any favorite voice actors?
That was the question that I wanted.
Oh, what was that? Was that the question? Who are your favorite voice actors, Jason?
Do
you have a name? Well, that was the question you wanted, so I thought maybe you already had some ideas there.
No, I didn't. Maybe Adam West when he did those two things.
You just like Adam West in animation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Townsend Coleman, of course, is a big one for me with The Tick, and he's been in other things. He doesn't get as much work as, honestly, he probably should. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Tara Strong, and everybody loves Tara Strong, but Bubbles is one of my favorite characters in anything, and I just love what she did with that so much. And then and then other people, I'm blanking on things. The guy who did Raphael in 87 Turtles et al. Everything else, I like that guy a lot. And the guy who voiced the Brain in Pinky the Brain et al. He's also a big. I'm also a big fan of his, but names are not coming to me at the moment. So
the guy who played Arthur, I like him.
Yeah, which one though? Because there's two. And the second guy is amazing because so the first Arthur was one of the monkeys. From the band of the Monkees, and he leaves after first season and is replaced by another voice actor who I've heard in lots of other things, but I don't remember his name right now. And he does such a spot-on impression; it's really difficult to even notice that he was changed.
I think it was the first one, the monkey guy.
The monkey guy. I love the monkey guy. Yeah, of course, Peter Cullen's great.
And
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I'm personally a big fan of Casey Kasem.
Oh yeah, of course, sure. Scooby-Doo
fame.
Yep.
I had another name off the top of my head, and And now
Rob Paulson. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Danny.
His name was Robert Paulson.
No,
yeah.
sorry. It's just, that's who I was trying to think of earlier.
Yeah, no, I was just got a chance to look at the chat. Casey Kasem. Yeah, and I'm completely blanking on it. I was going to say Tara Strong. Mel Brooks, I think.
Mel Blanc?
Blank, yes. Why did I say Brooks?
Because you're on a live show.
I am. My brain cuts off when the camera starts.
Yeah. No. It's it can be a little nerve-wracking sometimes. Yeah.
Just don't look at the camera.
President Lex says, "Relax. I've got a gun."
Oh yeah, that's really relaxing. Is a gun-wielding Funko Pop.
I was drinking something. Rosenbaum is also a really good voice actor, by the by. He gave us Flash in Justice League.
That's right. I completely forgot about him as a voice actor.
I've never seen that show. No, I have, but I don't remember that voice.
Yep. Okay, throw us another one.
Okay, from Jeffrey E. Patron.
Hello, Jeffrey.
What are some properties that you thought would never work in an animated format, but did?
He always asks the hard questions. He always asks really hard questions. Let's see. Things I didn't think would work, but ended up working. All that's immediately jumping to my mind are things that we attempted that didn't work at all. It's like Stargate animated. That was a bad idea. That looked horrible. Is anything immediately leaping to your mind, Danny?
No, I can't really think of any ideas that I wouldn't think would work in animation.
Yeah, I mean, does he mean adaptation?
I think that was what he meant. I think that's a question from last week, and I think he elaborated on it. I just forgot to add it to the list of questions.
Yeah, that's great. I need time to think about that. That's a really good question. Just nothing's leaping to mind.
I have no idea.
We are all at a loss.
Yes, Maurice LaMarche. Well, I'm still thinking too much about that last question too. We'll try to get back to that. Throw me another one. That's a great question. I know as soon as I turn the camera off, I'm gonna think of things.
From Blue Dragon 5.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Danny Phantom?
No, I've never seen that. That's the thing I've gotten requests for though, because it's kind of pseudo superhero. Yeah. Or is it just straight up superhero? I've never seen it, so I don't really know much about what it is.
It's pretty much straight up superhero, but with a little bit of a Ghostbusters type of flair to it, since he's going around catching ghosts. Not exactly the same, but it's kind of got a little bit of that in there, since each episode is him trying to capture a ghost and send it back to the ghost dimension, I think is what they call it. But
yeah, I'm stuck on Jeffrey's question. I just think more often it happens the other way, where it's like I never could have imagined that working in live action, but it kind of. I just think like most things you can animate. I mean, like even if it's just really dialogue driven, I can't think of much that just doesn't work animated. That just looks bad that way. You know, you could do a Friends animated series. I just feel like pretty much everything works in animation if you do it right.
Yeah, I asked the question because I figured you might have something for it, but I can't really think of anything that's ever it doesn't work.
I'm at a real loss on that. I mean, like I'm thinking of things that were not great movies or original properties that were turned into animated series that weren't that I wouldn't think would work, but not because they're animated, right? Like I haven't seen much of this, but like the 1998 Godzilla movie got an animated show, which was head and shoulders better than the film, but not necessarily because it was animated, but just because you know, it had a better writing. It was just a better show. You know, I'm thinking of things like Men in Black, which I think was done by the same house. And I don't immediately think, oh, Men in Black wouldn't work as a cartoon. I was just surprised that it was as good as it was.
I see something in the chat.
Connor says Apocalypse Now, the animated series. No, it could work. It could totally work. I mean, I wouldn't watch it because it would make me cry myself to sleep at night. But Mark Guerrero gives us a $1 super chat and says nothing. Thank you for that super chat. We sure appreciate it.
It doesn't let you say anything when you give $1.
Oh, really? You have to.
Yeah.
You have to get. Have you tried it?
No, I just
like. Why do you know that? Well, have you been trying to give me your money?
No, I've been I've been looking at the super chat menu and seeing that if I
Oh.
pay $1, it doesn't give you
No,
anything to type it.
but it says $1 message retracted. It gave him the option to put in a message, and it was
What?
retracted.
It didn't for me.
He's got a question from earlier that I'll get to since he didn't seem to add anything.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
Mark Guerrero asks, how well do you think the 90s Marvel animated universe holds up compared to the DC animated universe?
Sorry, I was reading things. Say that one more time.
How well do you think the 90s Marvel animated universe holds up compared to the DC animated universe?
Yeah, obviously not as good, right? You've got certain shows that are better than other shows, and the quality control wasn't there. I don't think it felt like a universe in the same way that DC animated did, or, I mean, it was nice that it wasn't thrown in our face either. It didn't matter if you knew that those shows were connected. And when they started to blend and you didn't realize it, it was kind of fun when somebody from one show would show up in another show. And then the Hulk show was just guest stars the series. And so, like, they did play around with that being a universe, but the DC animated universe, I think the quality control was higher. Of course, there's more of it. It lasted longer, and I think those shows just individually were better shows in the first place. So, like, the novelty of the crossover stuff was cool when they did it with the Marvel shows, but I also think that they're more dated, right? Like they feel very 90s and of the time, and not timeless in the way that I think the DC shows tend to. X-Men was better than Spider-Man, and it wasn't plagued, it didn't seem anyway, for whatever reason, to be plagued with some of the same censorship issues that Spider-Man had. The DC shows didn't have that problem. It wasn't like one show you could say dead and have blood, and another show you couldn't have that. It was they were consistent, but also constantly trying to push envelopes.
Yeah, maybe it's because I never really watched them together. But I never looked at the Marvel animated stuff as one universe. I looked at it more as like, oh, cool, we got a crossover, and it just happens to be the same style. Like, it all happens to have the same animation style, so it all kind of fits together. Whereas the DC AU, maybe it's the hindsight of looking back on it and seeing it all together, because I watched Justice League, and I watched Batman, and I watched Superman all in one block. It always felt like one thing compared to just separate shows that would eventually, or every now and then, just cross over. So...
yeah, you're absolutely right. Some of that is retroactive, because while you had only Batman and Superman, we were always kind of wondering if they were in the same universe. We didn't make it like super clear until we got further into it and then finally did a crossover, right? And then like there might have been like a minor character here and there that crossed, but you still, like you're saying, Danny, you still sometimes wonder where it's like, well, maybe that was just kind of a cool stunt, but like, is it ever really going to matter that much that they're in the same universe? And then we not only got that crossover, but then we did Justice League, and the thing they were doing was everybody together. We never did that with Marvel. Marvel never had. There was an Avengers show that was short-lived and nobody watched, but it wasn't a bunch of characters from shows that you had seen before plus some more, which is of course what Justice League was. And they just had a real tight-knit continuity. It always felt consistent. It felt at least as consistent as Star Trek.
Cinematographic asks, what do you like most about Gotham Knights animation?
About Gotham Knights, the anime anthology movie. Wow. Yeah, I mean, there's some great spooky moodiness there. There's different vignettes, and I don't have it in front of me, and I've only seen it a couple of times. I don't know it that well, so I can't even. I'd have to pull it up to even point out the ones I like versus the ones I don't. But yeah, I don't know. It was done by several different directors, and the animation is certainly better than the stories. And there's a couple that I thought were pretty dynamite looking. But yeah, I don't know. I guess atmosphere is what some of that had going for it, and some of it was just downright ugly.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that movie, but the one with the two detectives that get caught in the crossfires of the gang war, and then they're
is that the one with Croc, or is that a different one?
I think the one with Croc is the one that's got Gordon. I think the one with the two detectives is the one right before it. but they're close in animation style. So those were the two I always like.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Released.
That's one of the better ones. And I remember the Batsuit being pretty cool looking in that one.
Yeah, I think I've seen it twice, so I'm not.
It doesn't stick with me. I mean, we just did a commentary on that for Batmania last year, and I have to put it in front of me to even talk about it. It just doesn't stick with me. I will eventually do a rewind on that. That is over a decade old. I've never or is it? Yeah, right? Because that came out before Dark Knight. Yeah, that's over a decade old now. I'll get to it eventually.
Eventually.
I thought he was talking about the video game at first. I'm like, what?
There's not a video game called Gotham Knights.
You're thinking about Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight, singular. Mm-hmm. But if they ever do a fourth one, it'll be called Arkham Knights.
Nice.
John Early asks, at Geekvolution, ever since Beware the Batman has failed to find an audience, do you think Warner Brothers has been gun-shy about greenlighting another animated Batman series?
I have been really surprised that they haven't put something else out. And I don't know if it has anything to do with Beware the Batman or if it's just because Batman doesn't have a big popular movie following right now, and so they're just trying other things at the moment. I mean, they're looking a lot closer at what's working in live action with the CW shows and that kind of thing right now. And so you're seeing them put out like these mini series for like Constantine and things like that. And we've got. Of course, they're doing the comedy thing with Teen Titans Go, and then you've got the more kind of kid-friendly Justice League show that's on right now, Justice League Action. And so there is a show that has Batman in it, which I think, and voiced by Kevin Conroy, which I think is really easy to forget. I think everybody kind of forgets that like there actually is a show on right now with Batman in it. But and I've seen a little bit of it, and it's fine. What little I've seen of it's nothing special, but it's not bad. There's some Paul Dini stuff in there. But yeah, I keep waiting for an announcement. And I gotta say, I'm kind of surprised that they haven't announced one yet with DC Universe, with the streaming service. They announced a Harley Quinn series, but not a Batman series. And that I'm surprised by. You'd think that would be the place that they would throw one, because they know that at the moment, there's probably more adults that care about a really good, smart, serious Batman show right now than kids. And if they're gun-shy about it on regular television, they shouldn't be on DC Universe. That would be the place to put it. But I keep waiting for an announcement for other things in the Batverse that maybe include Batman or even don't, before I've been waiting for a Batman announcement. A Batgirl series or a Birds of Prey series, I actually would imagine faster than a Batman show right now, which is the thing which is the thing I never thought I would say, but I actually think that's more likely right now.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get a animated Batman series for the DC streaming service, because I think that would have been the first thing they'd announce is something straight up with Batman in the title. I think what's far more likely to happen is they're going to announce that every show in the DC animated universe is going to be available on that streaming service, so you can get it all in one, and they'll use that to maybe tie in with the Blu-ray release of Batman the Animated Series.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, that may be what they do. Do you think it's possible that, because obviously Beware the Batman, like failing as quickly as it did, or at least they're feeling like it wasn't doing well enough to keep it going. Because I never really knew what the numbers were on that. But anyway, obviously that's probably why they didn't go ahead and do one right away after that. But Danny, would you agree if I were to say that maybe it has more to do with BVS right now?
I think so too. I think the fact that they didn't waste any time between after the Dark Knight series, the Dark Knight trilogy, to jump into a new rebooted live action kind of hurt the idea of maybe doing something in animation. And I think it's also the fact that we don't really we had just done Beware the Batman, we had just done Brave and the Bold, so we had two different styles of Batman storytelling in cartoon that they weren't sure, well, what kind of Batman stories will we tell? Will we do the fun campy like we just did with Brave and the Bold? Will we do something more traditional like Batman the Animated Series? And they weren't. I don't think they had like a good vision of what kind of Batman we should put in animation right now.
And then interestingly, BVS has that exact identity crisis.
Yeah.
So then somebody makes a movie that can't decide exactly which of those it is. And I just think that's really interesting. No, that's an excellent point you're making, that people, that the studio wouldn't even, or the network wouldn't even necessarily know what kind of Batman people want right now. They just keep throwing stuff at the wall. And I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with the DC direct-to-video movies, because we kept making those while we had a Batman show on.
Yeah, and it seemed like they got more lax with the Bat embargo, where they would only want one vision of Batman available at a time. Like,
yeah.
When the Batman, the 2004 show was out, you couldn't really use Batman in Justice League all that much, or they didn't want to greenlight a new. Well, obviously they wouldn't want to greenlight a new Batman show while that's going on, but they didn't want to really muddy the waters with whatever interpretation of Batman they were trying to push at the time.
That's right, yeah. And they used to be like that more with Superman too. You know, you'd have periods where it's all about the last son of Krypton, and other periods where it's all about Krypton, and we don't have that as much anymore either. To your point, Danny, at that time, you're talking circa, early mid 2000s. That had a lot to do with why 60s Batman was not going to be released on DVD. Why, for the longest time, we thought we'd never see that. And when it finally happened, that was the same time as we were greenlighting things like Lego Batman and that kind of thing, where, you could do parody Batmans and, silly fun Batmans at the same time as you were doing really serious ones. And DC has finally fully embraced this idea that there are 150,000 different ways to do this character.
Yeah, sorry, I was copying a question.
Danny was having this daydream where it was the Danny Nixon show, and Captain Logan would just stop talking, and he would have the floor, and that was his daydream.
Despite the title, this is not the Captain Logan show. Staying on the Batman topic,
yeah.
Rabbit Ears Blog asks, "What is your favorite Batman animated film?"
I think it still. I've talked about this a lot. It's kind of a toss-up at this point between Phantasm and Under the Red Hood. They're very different things, and I have a hard time putting one above the other one. So I'm gonna cop out and say that. What's yours, Danny?
Oh man, if we're talking DC animated universe, it's definitely Mask of the Phantasm. But I think in general, my favorite.
Well, yeah, but what other contenders are there? Okay, I guess you've got Return of the Joker. It's quite good, but other than that,
yeah.
there are no other contenders, dude. You're not gonna say Mystery of the Batwoman. You're
No, I'm kidding. But
really?
No, I was kidding.
It's not even a mystery.
It's a mystery why I got.
How are you surprised when they're like, oh, there's like they were three different people the whole time? Yeah, I knew that.
No, I think my favorite in general is probably the two-part Dark Knight Returns. I think
sure.
Which is kind of cheating since it's technically two movies, so they've got twice the length to really tell the story, but I think that's my favorite.
But the thing is, once you get twice the length, it just becomes a longer, like, theatrically released kind of length, right? Like, it's not like it's a 3-hour movie. It's not really cheating. It's just that with the budget they have for those movies, they can't go past 80 minutes, and that's already barely a feature-length film.
Yeah, how long were the two parts of Dark Knight Returns? I thought they
were like 75.
Okay, so
I mean, it's just over 2 hours. It's like 210, okay. 215. So yeah, I mean, like, no, I'm with you. I mean, I can see why that sort of feels like cheating, but it's the kind of story that needs that much time to tell. Phantasm is not. You don't need 2 hours to tell Phantasm.
Mine right now is probably Batman Ninja.
Jason really liked Batman Ninja.
I really like that one. It was really cool.
And the Lego Batman movie's great.
Yeah, I need to get around to watching Batman Ninja, since that's like the one Batman movie I haven't caught up to yet. Like,
wow.
I've just kind of been putting that one off. Kellen O'Rourke.
It's bizarre.
It's bizarre?
It's bizarre. In all the right ways.
Oh, well, that's good. Kellen O'Rourke asked.
Yes, that's true. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Cap, do you think the night Gwen Stacy died could work as an animated feature?
again, I just don't know if you can throw out too much at me that won't. Somebody said like AVGN the animated series. Yeah, sure. I don't.
Somebody said Geekvolution the animated series.
Yeah, well, people want us to have a movie and a video game, and yeah. But anyway, yeah, I think that would be a fine story to try to tell in animation, and you know, you stylize it like the book, and it might even be kind of a better place to you make it like a really bright, chipper looking Disney movie, and like some early Disney movies, it's also really super depressing and gut-wrenching, right? Like Night Gwen Stacy died would be like the Bambi of superhero movies. That's yeah, no, except it happens at the end and not the beginning. But anyway, yeah, no, sure you could, except like everyone would see it coming. Although I guess if you called it that, that's the problem with death in comics, right? Is we already always know what's going to happen before we read it. I mean, that wasn't true then, but now that's what that story's called. So, you know.
Yeah, but, I'm kind of surprised
maybe it would have to be a short film. I mean, I don't know if there's a whole 80-minute movie there, but
I think you could probably put a bunch of just Spider-Man lore with the Green Goblin into a movie and end it with the death of Gwen Stacy, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm with you.
Instead of just doing a straight adaptation.
Would you bookend it with the death of the Stacys? Would you open it with Captain Stacy dies? And
no, because then it's Amazing Spider-Man 2. Well, I guess that one's not started with that death, but the crux of the beginning really starts off with the consequences of his death. Oh, Pandora has a super chat and says, currently marathoning Daredevil in preparation for your rewind, and I'm loving it. I'd go as far as to call it a masterpiece.
Yeah, I wonder if Pandora had seen it before, or is just now finally getting around to it. Well, you have made more legwork than me so far, because I have not gotten started on my watch yet. So good job, and I'm looking forward to your review. No, I can't wait to work on that. I'm really excited about it, but I'm also kind of trepidatious and a little bit scared of it. That's one of those things. It is a masterpiece in my mind, and it's one of those things that I feel barely qualified to talk about, and so I'm a little bit intimidated by that piece. Danny, the other day I had a commenter who said that when I announced that had better be my longest rewind, like almost a like not a threat or whatever, but just like, I'm gonna be really disappointed if this is not the longest thing you've done, because there's so much to sink your teeth into, and it's 13 episodes. And he said Power Rangers was your longest by a few seconds, like an hour 15 and change. And he was like, Daredevil better be longer than Power Rangers. And I was just like, I mean, it's likely to be, but I'm not going to force it. So anyway, we'll see what that ends up looking like.
Speaking of animation, I have a Bubbles wristband.
Ooh, cool.
Can you even see that? Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
It's Bubbles in a bubble. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But thanks for that super chat from the Music Genome Project. What else have we got, Danny?
David Crabtree asked, as a blatant fan of 80s and early 90s animation, how much of today's reliance on flash animation for 2D cartoons lost much of the nuance and fluidity found in traditional 2D animation? So kind of wrapping it back around to the question we had earlier about 2D.
Yeah. Was that a question or a statement?
The question is,
it's like, I agree with that.
Do you think 2D animation nowadays relies too much on flash animation and loses the fluidity of hand-drawn animation?
Yeah, and I don't look at a whole lot of it, so I feel kind of unqualified to talk too much about it. But when I have seen that, it's so I've got two minds about it. You know, you look at something like say Steven Universe, and it's a stylistic thing, and that's not like a super detailed thing, but then there is a lot of attention to detail in continuity and stuff in the background and that kind of thing. And like, you know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, Powerpuff Girls had this, where at first I look at that and I'm like, it looks kind of ugly, but then it grows on me and I get used to the style of it. I just want more variety is my thing. Like, I wish we would go back to things that looked more like, or some things that looked more like traditional hand-drawn animation, and actually detail scale things and give it texture and make and have shows. I don't mean everything, but just have shows that look like as realistic as you can make something look in hand-drawn animation, but also with stylistic-looking characters. You go back to some of the goofiest cartoons we had in the late 80s, like the 87 Ninja Turtles, and it was a gritty, grimy-looking show, like with the buildings and the streets and stuff. That wasn't the kind of stories they were telling at all, but there was this great attention to detail. And yeah, I think we have lost that pretty well across the board, except for in projects that we can spend longer on that are direct-to-video things, or again things for streaming services for Netflix and stuff. But I see both sides of it. Like I said, sometimes I can look at things like that and just say that's stylistic. I want more variety, but also I understand how much more time and effort it takes to put shows like that out. I'm honestly starting to think that streaming is just the place for animation. Maybe we shouldn't be rushing people anymore and trying to get things out in time to watch it on a Thursday afternoon or whatever.
Yeah, I think the evolution of animation going forward in a streaming-centric entertainment business is going to be steering farther away from the traditional episodic kids animation and doing more stuff like Castlevania, where it's short seasons where they get to tell their story and they really get to put more time and effort into each episode that they animate, rather than kind of like churning them out as quick as they can with maybe subpar animation.
Yeah, or Godzilla. Oh my God, have you looked at that?
No, I haven't.
It's gorgeous.
Is that the one on Netflix? Or?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah, the Netflix science fiction Godzilla set in the future. It's dynamite.
It's on my watch list.
Random reviewer.
Yes, there's a $2 super chat. Would you just let Danny do his job?
Let me scroll back down. Random reviewer says, please watch Megamind. It's a great movie.
I did it finally last night, and I'll be talking about that on the Omnibus this coming week, but I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Okay, the next question from Kelly Jones. Cap, have you ever watched a series that had ideas or themes you thought were handled better in an animated format than in live action?
I'm sorry, once again, I was reading comments, but you say the beginning of that again? What?
Have you ever watched a series that had ideas or themes that you thought were handled better in an animated format than they were in live action?
I mean, yeah, sure, but that's because, again, you can tell any kind of story in these different mediums. So just because it's a cartoon doesn't make it necessarily for children. And I mean, like the first thing that comes to my mind, of course, is The Simpsons, which was the most sophisticated sitcom on in the early 90s. And so, yeah, they were telling better stories than pretty much any live action the sitcom was at the time. But I had this with superhero films for the longest time, that like some of the most sophisticated superhero films were in animation, and still are, certainly, but we finally have jumped over that hurdle and started just making movies, and it doesn't so often have to be just that formula, or just for a popcorn eating audience with summer blockbusters, right? So like for a long time, Mask of the Phantasm and The Incredibles and movies like that were our most sophisticated superhero films. And so yeah, I have definitely had that thought quite a bit. And we were just talking about Megamind. That movie is immediately more sophisticated than some other superhero movies, but also than a lot of other animated films and animated superhero movies. It is definitely Pixar worthy, but I digress. What else do you have, sir?
Other people are asking Danny to do questions.
Are they?
Yeah. Someone is like, did you catch my Marvel anime question?
It's in the list. I'm sorry. Let me scroll back up to that one since Jason brought it back up.
No, because if you do that, everybody's going to think all they have to do is like throw things out for Jason to notice them, or just do Jason's old tactic of, I asked you a question, when is he gonna answer it? No, real quick, whatever that question was, I have not seen the Marvel animes at all, so I can't really speak to those right now. I have them, I have not put them in yet.
Okay, I will skip that one because it was basically what were your thoughts on the animes?
I don't have any yet. I sometimes I wish I could go like send my mind to the future and get like a download from the Captain Logan that inevitably watched those things, but I'm not. I don't have that yet.
Become a scientist.
Become a scientist.
Become a spaceman.
Become a spaceman. Okay, but like
travel to the Milky Way, have a picnic there, come back to Earth, and then you're into the future.
Okay,
Just kidding. That's a website that is lying.
Okay, so I want to break this down for a moment. I don't know where you got that, but first of all, we were in the Milky Way. That's the first thing.
Go to the middle of
the middle of it. I see. Of it. The second thing is time dilation doesn't mean time travel, right? So like I could go at the speed of light, and then everyone I know back home, because of relative time, is dead, and then I come back. That doesn't mean I time traveled. So you know it doesn't really. It just doesn't work that way. And also, the whole spinning around the world thing really fast to go back in time doesn't seem to actually work. That probably doesn't work.
No. It's just a website that is lying.
That is lying. Is that what you said? It's a lying website.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Lies on the internet?
That's what Mom said.
I love this. I love this age so much.
That's what my mom said.
Yeah?
Is it was a website that is lying. She said it was not true.
When we bring Jason on, you never know what might happen.
Yeah. I'm going to be on every single Captain Logan channel.
Anything.
You have no idea what is going to happen.
Divid22 says, well, by the time you got back, it would be the future. I guess that's true. It would be the future of that. Right. But you wouldn't have the power to then go back. You know, like, I guess from your perspective, you would be in the future and at a younger age. But
me.
Jason, we're not a younger age, but the same.
Yes,
anyway.
I notice you. I know you're there, Connor.
Hey, Danny, let's give it another 5 minutes or so, buddy.
Fine by me. William Parcell asks, Cap and Company, are there any comics/superheroes that you think can only be properly adapted in animation instead of live action?
I think there are a lot that immediately make more sense to do that, and things... And I don't know, when you have a universe that is really super heightened, stylized, and not... And has a lot of characters that either aren't humanoid or just look really alien, you get to a place where you wonder what the point of doing it in live action is, or when you have to do a lot of it in CG, it starts to look like an animated film with a couple of human characters in it. Green Lantern had this problem, at least with the space stuff. And I'm not saying that you can't do a really good, even Green Lantern core movie in space. We did it with Guardians. It was great, but I have seen too many movies now that kind of have that problem where I feel like I'm watching an animated movie, and I wish I was just watching an animated movie because it would probably look better if we focused on that. But yeah, I think right away Spawn works better there. It's such a stylized looking thing, and you want to get close to that artwork. I think anything where you really want to try to get close to what it looked like originally because of how stylistic or over the top the artwork is, it kind of maybe makes more sense to do that way. This isn't a superhero thing, but I've never understood what the point of doing Transformers in animation is, or in live action is, especially after living with 1986 for a little while and writing about that. I don't know why we ever put that in live action. Again, not saying it can't be done well. And that first movie, whatever you feel about the story and the characters, the animation with those characters and how it's integrated is amazing. I mean, it looks really, really good. I may not like the shaky cam and stuff. They got lazier after that. It looks really good in that first movie, or at least I remember it looking really good in the theater. It's been 10 years and I haven't gone back to it. But anyways, I digress. Danny, can you think of anything just right away where you're like, this I would only want to see in like Batman Beyond? I kind of have that with, although my mind can be changed on that.
Yeah, that would require a lot of really good CGI to make the sets and everything look futuristic. My big thing is Fantastic Four and anything with a character that's power is being able to stretch, because I don't think our CGI is to the point where we can make someone realistically look like they're stretching like 10 feet and not make it look like bad CGI.
Boy, that's a great point. Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, most of it is about whatever technical limitations we have with CGI and live action compared to, I think this is better fit for being told in animation, unless whatever story you're telling is like really tied to the fact that it's, 2D. Like if you're telling a story about something that just revolves around it needing to be animated for some reason, I can't really think of a reason why something couldn't work in live action just as well as it works in animation, because I think it's really just a different way of presenting what your story is.
Yeah, but I just also think we should be afraid of it.
Yeah.
You know what? Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. I think that's a good one, because with the trend towards CGI, we're making them look more like turtles, which seems the right way to go, but an anatomical turtle does not look nearly as fun or as
or at least that's what we did do. Hopefully, there's been another movie just announced. They're going to reboot again. Hopefully, we get back to something a little bit more stylized. But yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. There was like an attempt at making that look more realistic, and it didn't work at all. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, again, in its purest form, Ninja Turtles is such a not real looking thing that, as I said in my top 10 things I'd like to see rebooted video, I'd like to see a blend sort of like Sin City with Ninja Turtles, where there might be real human being characters like played by actors, but a lot of it is animated to give it that Eastman and Laird flair. And so there's a lot of things like that. Maybe we should play around more with animation in making things more stylized, I guess is what I'm saying. Even when it is live action.
I see a question.
Well, yeah, it's a question show.
Yeah.
I
see a question that I
They're
like.
not Pokemon. You can't catch them all.
It's for just you.
Okay, well, go ahead, Jason.
I want
Danny, I'm sorry. He's taking your job, buddy. I'm sorry.
It's
only
fine.
I'm working part-time and he's working full-time. G Stone says, I wonder if Cap has seen Pan. Pan is a prequel to Peter Pan.
Right. No, I have not seen that movie, and I heard nothing but terrible things, so I didn't bother with it. How about two more, Danny?
Okay. Connor Nielsen asked, do you think we could start seeing animated episodes of live action shows?
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, for like dream sequences and things, or like, something is like all in somebody's head, or you can do gimmicky things like that. I mean, yeah, if we're doing musicals all the freaking time, that's a really cool idea. I mean, I don't know why we don't. You could do. And again, you could do blends of things, and you could have just a sequence that is, and I'm sure we've done that in something, and it's just not coming to me right away. But yeah, I don't know why we don't do that kind of thing more often.
Supernatural, was it that just did it with Scooby-Doo? Yep.
Oh, is that what he's talking about? Because that wasn't. I didn't think that was an episode, though. I thought that was a direct-to-video movie. I thought that was like the Brave and the Bold thing. Am I wrong about that? Was that?
I could have sworn it was an episode. Okay.
They must have aired it and then put it out on DVD by itself, and then I assumed that it was just another one of those. That makes so much more sense than what I thought it was, because I thought they just put that out as a movie, and I was like, that seems really niche. Like, the Brave and the Bold thing was kind of niche, but it's Batman. Like, that seemed really niche. But then at the same time, they keep doing things with like wrestling, and so I know there's a lot of and there's wrestling folks that watch it. I get that's still very popular, but the supernatural thing seems like maybe that's even more niche than that. That's even more niche than that. At this point, Supernatural was on for like 45 seasons, and I don't think it has the following it did early on.
As a wrestling fan, wrestling has a history of blending with cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
The 80s with Hulk Hogan and all that kind of stuff. So I guess that one's less niche if you look at it historically, but outside of wrestling circles, I've never heard of anyone talk about the wrestling crossovers, but I have seen a lot of people who are not Supernatural fans talking about the Supernatural.
This is absolutely an historic occasion for Geekvolution. I didn't know that about you. We finally have a co-host or producer on the channel that knows jack for anything about wrestling. We've never ever had that, and I've gotten crap for it before, where it's like, Cap knows nothing about wrestling, and I'm like, no, I don't.
Because you don't care.
Let's get one more question real quick, and then we've got to get going.
Okay. From Blue Dragon 5, Cap, how would you build a Marvel animated universe on television?
With Legos. That's how I would build it. No, I'm kidding. Wow, like from the ground up? Goodness. I don't know. Yeah, I guess the first question is what you start with. I think Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes, this is the first place my brain goes, would have been a great place to branch off from, where, it was deriving heavily from the movies in some of the things it was doing, like, in its characterization of Tony Stark. And a lot of people didn't love that guy was doing a Robert Downey voice, and I didn't love that either. But, and I haven't watched all that show, but I think, you start from that place, and then it goes off on its own, and it becomes very much its own thing. And then you branch off characters and, let certain feel like maybe you let Iron Man have his own show, and maybe let, Ant-Man and the Wasp have their own show, which at the time I would have thought would be crazy. Nobody would watch, but what's coming out next Thursday. And then, and then even branch off from there and give Spider-Man a show and give the FF a show and have characters that aren't in the Avengers, show up in an episode of that and then branch them off. That would have been the place to start. I really think at this point, an Avenger show, splintering is probably the way to go with them.
Yeah, I think that would make the most sense if you're trying to do what Marvel seems to be doing with everything that they put out and tie it as closely to the MCU as they can. I'd personally kind of like to see something start with Fantastic Four and kind of mirror the way that the comics grew out of that as far as the shared universe goes. Yeah,
that's a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. And just prove to people, yeah, FF can be cool, you guys.
Yeah.
I don't think that marketing-wise, that's maybe the smartest way right now to start, but...
No, I think
you start with a Silver Surfer show, or you start with a Doctor Doom show, but it can't be Fantastic Four.
No, Fantastic Four is Scorched Earth because of the Human Torch, obviously.
That's
you just can't do anything with that. Yeah.
That's the name of the show. It's a Fantastic Four : Scorched Earth. That actually sounds like a really cool name for a show. Anyway, well, everybody, thanks always for watching. We sure appreciate it. I hope you had a good time. Hopefully Danny and I will be back with you again next Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock to do another one for you. Leave us comments and let us know what... I've got to get going, so I can't take them right now. But let us know what ideas you might have for another theme show, and we'll either do another Ask Me Every single thing in an hour, Ask Me Anything, or we'll do another theme show like this. Danny, animation had legs, man.
I know we've got enough questions to go on for, I'm sure, 4 or 5 different shows, but
we'll revisit it. We'll come we'll come back. Yeah. Maybe next week we haven't, I mean, we obviously do a lot of superhero stuff here. I don't know, maybe next week we'll do maybe a Batman show. We haven't done that yet. And we had a lot of Batman questions today. I'm sure people would enjoy that. That's the first thing I'm thinking about maybe coming back with. But let's see what people think.
And
do a Spider-Man show. We could do that.
Or Flash.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah,
I
would have enough for a Flash show.
All the way upstairs and all the way down.
You just run around the camera?
Yeah.
Well, Jason, thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Yeah.
Jason will be back with us again sometime soon as well, I'm sure.
I don't know yet.
Jason's getting presumptuous, I think.
If it would be Batman, no. Because because...
You don't want to do a Batman show?
Well, I don't know much about Batman anyway. And
I have plenty of material.
Some of the stuff I just wouldn't even be a part of.
Oh, next Wednesday is the 4th of July. I don't have anything
we can
until
do a firework show. Just talk all the
Kat, what is your favorite firework?
I'm a big Black Cat fan, really. We may pick a different day next week. Stay tuned. We'll figure it out, or we may just skip next week entirely. But I've got to get going. I've got company upstairs. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Jason.
We'll see you next time.
And I'm Danny.
See you later.